All right, well,
Sam,
hey Brad, how you doing?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. Thank you.
All right, hey, we start off buttering the bread of all of our guests. I thank you for showing up here. I just want to introduce you real quick.
Hmm.
This is Director Brad Bailey. Sir, you are the first African American to win the Student Oscar Gold in a documentary for Hale. Harvard University scholar focused on social justice. And I thank you so much for being on this podcast. Sir, your resume speaks for itself. Um,
Thank you.
I thank you for classing up the joint of this podcast. But
Thank you. Thank you.
I wanted to start off with a little bit of levity, and when I say little, that's probably going to be it because of what we're about
Yep.
to talk about today. Um,
Yep.
the film is Her Fight, His Name: The Story of Gwen Carr and Eric Gardner. Look, I got a chance to see the screening of this. It's a very important film, but what was the idea behind it? What gave you the idea to be a part of this?
Sure. Well, December 2017, I saw a news article. I was living in New York, and I saw a news article that Erica Garner, who is the daughter of Eric Garner and the granddaughter of Gwen Carr, had passed away from a heart attack. And a lot of the reports in the news were um, that it could have been brought on by the stress of the activism she had done on behalf of her father. And she just had a child. And so, the issues of Black maternal mortality was an issue for me, and sort of understanding the impact of stress on bodies due to discrimination. And in many ways, that it angered me. And I wanted to sort of understand more. And so I contacted Ms. Carr a few months later. And so my essential goal was finding out what happens to people, what happens to these real people behind these major news stories, and what happens when the cameras go away, what happens in the public moments, and what happens in the private moments, and then what is the ripple effect of these incidents on these families over time. And I wanted to, and I thought we'd be done in 3 months and I would just be able to get it out there and show it, but it ended up being 6 years. And I don't think there was any way around it. We realized that the story was just not done, and that there are many, my own, your own life comes in and takes in, and other things come in and take over. Then you have breaking news stories that come out. You're like, we have to incorporate this. Then you had the pandemic, and so we realized that the story had to be done when it was done. And that was one of the major challenges of any filmmaker. But I also look at the story as an oral historian as well, and as somebody that believes in the power of oral history and the spoken word. So,
Now, one can say your story still isn't done if you really think about it, because the spread of the epidemic of police violence and lack of reform that's happening right now. Just keep it at 100. But I want to see, it's been 10 years since the death of Eric Gardner. Why did you feel it was the right time to make this film, or like really put it out there?
well, we realized that the 10-year anniversary of it was a milestone in many different people's opinions, and that it was the perfect length of time where many people, yes, may very much so still remember the story, but it was also a whole generation had come up in 10 years.
Mm.
And we realized that this was the time to revisit these issues and to do it in a way, because I know people are sometimes tired of these narratives. And I wanted to have a narrative and a story that re-energized and re-energized people and inspired them, instead of making them tired or wanting to run away from these narratives. And some people call it, too much trauma, but I'm like, no, if we stop talking about these issues, I believe we run into problems. And I believe that in the current political environment we're in, a lot of people are trying to seek answers and seek ways in which they can make change in their community, in their lives. And I think there's no time like the present, I realize, to make this film. I don't believe accidents happen. And I believe that we were meant to release this film when we are releasing it,
Makes-
and so yeah, that's it.
That makes sense. This 3-month project that ended up being 6 years, I have
Mhm.
to ask this question just as a filmmaker. What, if anything, was left on the cutting room floor? This was a 30-minute film. And in all 30 minutes, it was packed with, reliving 10 years ago. But what, if anything, was left on the cutting room floor that you probably want to elaborate more on?
Hundreds of hours of stuff, man. Like hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage over years that we realized could not make it into the final cut. But again, as an oral historian, I realized I could use this and I could do the 8 hour raw interview that we have of Miss Carr and put the whole unedited interview either online or in a research center or in a library somewhere or put it with a civic group so that people can take it and inspire and do their own thing in their own ways. A lot of the footage that didn't make it were particularly of the commemoration with other mothers, other Black mothers, and sort of their particular experiences. Each one of them did an hours long interview, and I wanted to find a way to honor those women as well, not just Miss Carr, but I've also walked along with those women as well over these 6 years. I've got to know a lot of them that were in the film, and some of them I talk to all the time. And so, you know, I wanted to be able to find a way to show the intimacy and the this I call it the sisterhood of mothers of that interaction and the details of that interaction. But I felt that with this film, we want to keep it very, very, very tight on Gwen's particular experiences and her first person perspective. So if it did not happen with her in the room for this film, I didn't want to include it. But there's a lot of other moments that I think would have been like again in the film, and we got stopped by the cops in one of the scenes with the other mothers. Gwen wasn't in the car. His car wasn't in the car, but there were other mothers. I was with the other mothers. We got stopped by the cops, and so just and that interaction was recorded, But I realized that like it wouldn't have been appropriate for this particular angle of the story we were dealing with. So, but there's some great moments that happen.
I would like to see that because I would imagine it would be just a story of the healing process of you have, and it's kind of a shame that there is this ensemble of mothers of people who died, or excuse me, who had their kids die from police violence. But to ensemble this together, I would imagine just looking at that could be a journey into healing. Just that would be an interesting story itself. Sorry, I sidetracked a little bit, but
No, it's not a sidetrack. That's right on point, because again, like that's the story. That's the story. It's yes, it is absolutely about Miss Carr, but there are other mothers here who are who are her who are her sisters who walk with her, and their stories are equally important in different ways.
all
So
right. Well, speaking of the story itself, you had two screenings before our sit down, before we get a chance to talk to it. How was those screenings? How did the audience react to it? Did anyone come up to you afterward? Please walk me through that.
sure. Well, there's I one of the things I guess with me having been with this story for so long is that I gotten so used to the intensity of it, but then I'm it's starting to dawn on me that other people are not used to the intensity of that. And so looking at the repeated sort of hits that the film has, makes me realize that we have to find ways to almost warn the audiences of the intensity of it when they're about to watch it. I was with we had a screening last night in Inglewood, California, and there was a young woman who did not even know who was walking down downtown Inglewood, California, and she saw the film on the marquee, and she's like, "Okay, I'm going to stop in here and check this out." She sat front row, and she's an opera singer,
Wow.
and she was moved to tears by the film repeatedly throughout the process, and she said that in many ways she learned that women are the bearer of these stories for men disproportionately, and that she realized that, and I believe that as an opera singer she's going to take that because she's going to be on stage telling stories in her own way, through an operatic sense, and I believe that she will be able to carry that sort of sense of how she is the bearer of stories as an opera singer to the audiences she's going to be singing in front of. And I think that the film in many ways showed her as the bearer of stories how one may have to be. And I think that was truly remarkable for me. Um, and that I may never see her again in many ways. But the fact that she took that from the film that we had worked so long on is a validation, I think, of the sacrifices we made to get this out there.
Man, I gotta ask, did you have an intention, or what you want the audience to take from this project? Or was it mad, or what would you want people that's gonna see it, in the future? What do you want for them to take away from this film?
Well, I believe that, in this particular political environment, a lot of people are nervous, they're scared, they are unsure about what's going to happen next. And I think the good thing about this film, and what I hope to be the major takeaway, is that no matter what happens next, that each of us, no matter where we have come from, what our lives were like before, what our circumstances were, I don't care about their ethnicity, I do not care about their income, I do not care about their geography, wherever you're from, that you can make change in your local communities, in your own life, in your local communities, and in the larger world. That you can go out there and do that, and that this film, in many ways, is a procedural about how to do that. And because you have one woman who was driving the A train in New York City, which is a tough job for anyone that's
Yeah.
taken the A train or any train in New York City, but she entered hurricane and a media firestorm after the death of her son, and she withstood that.
Hmm.
And that you may not have to do it even that way, but there are many different ways that you can make change. There's no one way to do it. And that I hope that people can get inspired by that.
Well, this time just flew right past. I thank you so much for just being very important part on my podcast where it's not just jokes all the time. Sometimes we can do some serious stuff too. Brad,
That's our jokes are good. Jokes are good. Jokes are
I'm
good.
just not today. But Brad, thank you so much. You're welcome back anytime, and much success for all your future projects.
Thank you, sir. It was my pleasure to be here. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right, have a great one.
Thank you.
Bye.